Good morning. Good morning. It's 2:45 a.m. Monday morning. It's the best way to get a day started. Best way to get a week started. Best way to end a week is to be up early, be out the door, and be ready. I'm gonna tell you something. Last night I opened up a book that I hadn't opened up in over 27 years. 27 years. And I sat down and I read this book to my son. But as I opened it, mind you, I'm about to be 40, 27 years, I hadn't seen this book. I hadn't seen it at all. And I didn't know that it was a #1 seller. I didn't know that it had been endorsed by Billy Graham. As a matter of fact, when I ordered this book off Amazon over a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and it's been sitting in a package that I have not opened, I had no idea that it had been endorsed by Billy Graham. The book I'm talking about was the very first book that brought me to God when I was sitting inside of a cell at the age of 14, 15 years old, and I was facing 60 years in prison. 60 years. That was 10 years for every felony conviction. 60 years stacked. And I sat down and I opened up the book last night and I started reading it to my son, having no idea back then that I was reading a #1 bestseller, that I was reading a book that had been endorsed by the Billy Graham. All I remember was reading a story about a kid who was getting into a lot of trouble in his native country of Puerto Rico, or his native island of Puerto Rico, and was sent to New York City to stay with his brother. And at that time was 1955, and he was getting involved with a bunch of gang violence, gangster disciples, vice lords. And the man changed his life. You can spend all your life completely wrapped up in fear. You can spend your life completely tied to the fact that maybe your destiny is to come here and pay bills and then die, barely have enough money, barely get by. Maybe that's what you want to hold on to. And by all means, knock yourself out. Honestly, knock yourself out. Go all out. That's how you want it. Live it. Live it how you get it. But I'd have you think for 1 second, and I'm not pushing this on anybody. I'm not pushing this on anybody because what I'm getting ready to say is the equivalent of me handing out a $100 bill to you and you rejecting it. It's not going to offend me. I'm going to fold my money back up and I'm going to put it back in my pocket. But I'll have you consider something. That your life has so much more purpose than what you're doing right now. That if you for 1 second gave some consideration to the things that you've been through and the things that you've come through and the things that you've survived and the things that's happened and the fact of what lucky sperm it had to be in order to make you to be here, I'd have you consider that you would never, ever have to settle for less than best in your life. Never. I've witnessed miracles. I have witnessed biggest miracles that tell me you don't ever have to fear. You don't ever have to worry. And you don't ever have to think that your purpose on this life, on this planet, at this time, was for nothing. It wasn't just to procreate. It wasn't just to multiply the earth. It wasn't just to pay the bills. But I'd have you consider for a second that your life has so much more purpose, but not without doing the work. And I'm a strong believer that the devil is challenging you the closer you get to it. The closer you get to that, the more the devil will challenge you. The more the devil will put you to your test. The more the devil will push you to your limits. And the more he'll whisper in your ear and say, it ain't gonna happen. It didn't happen for your mama's mama. It didn't happen for your mama. It didn't happen for your brother. It didn't happen for your cousin. It didn't happen for your sister. It didn't happen for your daddy. It didn't happen for your daddy's daddy. It didn't happen for nobody down the generations. And you know why it didn't happen? Because they believed what he was telling them, that it didn't happen. See, he had what we call case studies, testimonies. See, we found out that a case study and a testimony holds more weight and more power with an individual than anything else. And what I mean by that is simply this. He's running case studies. The devil's running testimonies. See, but where you failed at is you didn't pick up God's testimony. You didn't pick up any testimonies out the book. You didn't pick up any testimonies from the people who have made it. Testimonies and case studies is what I use to give to people all day long to tell them the quality of my business, and they work. It works. If I show you a case study telling you about how my business runs, how I operate, how I do things, guess what? It works. It works. And the devil's been running case studies and testimonies on you. Your daddy didn't do it. Your mama didn't do it. Look at your brother. He couldn't do it. Look at your sisters. They couldn't do it. Look at your aunt, your uncles. None of them could do it. It's impossible. That's test number one. You got to pass. You got to get past that. That is a testimony. It is. But that's just a testimony for the devil's favor. That's a testimony that the devil can work his magic. You got to start digging in some testimonies about God's magic. You got to start digging into some testimonies about the people around you who have succeeded and become successful. And then after you build up enough testimonies about why you can do it, then you got to build up a couple things inside of yourself, which is some work habits, some ethics, some principles, and some values. And one of those values have to be that I'm not going to listen to those testimonies. I'm not going to listen to those case studies about those people that failed, because all that's telling me is the devil is for real. He really does work his magic. But the story and the testimony's got to break down like this. Not with me. Not on my watch. Not on my time. Not on my dime. Not for 1 second. And you have to be adamant about that. You have to be diligent about that. And then you have to be purposeful about your mission. And then you got to initiate the fact that prayer does work. Then you got to roll some values in there about your time being more valuable than money. You don't have to live a life of mental poverty, of emotional illness. Matter of fact, I'll go so far as say you don't even have to be sick. You don't even have to be sick. Because guess what? Even when you're sick, it gives you a time to be thankful for when you feel good. So anything that brings you back to reality or brings you back to a sense of being thankful is an opportunity in itself. I can't forget being at the funeral of my buddy and the pastor saying that when he spoke to him on the phone, he said, I got some good news, he got some bad news. And him telling him, dude, ain't no good news, ain't no bad news. It's all good news. What you got? Because no matter what it is, it's all for the glory of God. No matter what it is. It's all test. You pass or you fail. You pass, you fail. You pass, you fail. That's it. Right? That's it. There's no more. There's nothing else. You either pass or fail. You fail when you start listening to the testimony of the devil. You pass when you start listening to the testimony of those around you who have accomplished things. You got to remember something. There's two entities that are fighting for your life. I can look back. I should not be here. I should not be here. But at every single junction of my life, I've been spared by convenience or by inconvenience, because prison was very inconvenient. I'll end it with this. There was a killing at a nightclub, at a strip club off Grand Avenue about, I want to say about 7 years ago. We were supposed to be at that strip club. With the guys who said that did it. All you got to do is look in your past and simply use the things that you have overcome and survived as your power to uplift you through anything that you're going through now. And I guarantee you'll find more than enough power in the presence of your past reflections. Or you can take those same past, or you can use them to empower your negativity. You can use them to empower your lies. You can use them to empower you in a way that keeps you stuck. But just like my buddy said, he said, ain't no good news, ain't no bad news. And you only get that mindset when you start to believe that your life has purpose bigger than what you're serving right now. Anything you want, all you have to do is ask.